All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we are digging into a skill that can literally make or break any project you're working on, stakeholder engagement. We're going to cut through all the jargon and build a simple, super powerful playbook that you can start using like tomorrow. Let's jump in.
So, let me ask you something. Ever been on a project that just felt like it was sinking? You know the one. Deadlines are flying by, the team's totally confused, and nobody can even agree on what you're supposed to be building? It's an awful feeling, isn't it?
Well, I'd bet that more often than not, that whole sinking feeling comes from one single place: not managing your stakeholders the right way. Ignoring them? It's kind of like spotting a tiny leak in your boat and just, hoping for the best. And spoiler alert, it never works out.
So what's really going on here? Where does that sinking feeling actually come from? Look, it's almost never some big technical glitch. It's always about the people, their needs, their expectations, their influence. And you know what? Getting a handle on that, well, that's your project's life raft right there. This is where we get proactive. I mean, think about it. If you nail down clear requirements from the get-go, you kill scope creep before it even has a chance to breathe. When you get real buy-in, people are actually excited to use what you're building, not just forced into it. And when you get the communication flowing to the right people, man, you dodge so many risks you would have never even seen coming.
Okay, so where do we start? Simple. First, we've got to figure out who's actually in this boat with us. And that means identifying every single person, every team, every group that has any kind of stake in how this project turns out.
And trust me, you're going to cast a much wider net than you think. Of course, you've got your internal team, your external customers, but then there's this really interesting group called surrogate stakeholders. Think about it like this. A customer service manager. They aren't the end user, right? But they represent the voices of hundreds, maybe thousands of users based on all the complaints and feedback they hear every single day. You have to get their voice in the room. It's non-negotiable.
Now, inside that big group of people, some roles just carry more weight. Let's start with the project sponsor. This is way more than just a name on an org chart. This person is your project's #1 champion. When the budget gets tight, or when two teams are pulling in opposite directions, they are the one who steps in, breaks the tie, and makes sure everyone remembers the big picture.
Next up, and please don't forget this one, the end users. It is so easy to get buried in technical specs and meetings and completely forget about the actual human beings you're building this thing for. Their real-world, hands-on feedback, that is the only thing that separates a solution that technically works from one that people find genuinely useful.
And finally, we've got your subject matter experts, or SMEs. Think of them as the guides who know the terrain inside and out. They are the ones who can look at your brilliant, game-changing idea and say, yeah, that's great, but it's going to completely break these 3 other critical systems over here. They're basically your guardians against those nasty, unseen consequences.
Okay, so now you've got this big list of people, but here's the thing. You can't possibly give every single one of them the same level of attention. You'd go crazy. You've got to prioritize. And that really means figuring out who has the real power to influence things and who's just kind of curious. And here is the perfect tool for the job, the Power Interest Matrix. It's super simple. Let's look at the top right corner. You've got folks with high power and high interest. These are your partners. You need to engage with them actively, all the time. Now, top left, high power but low interest. Your job here? Keep them satisfied. Give them the high-level updates, but don't drown them in the daily details. Okay, bottom right. Low power, but they're really interested. Just keep them in the loop, keep them informed, so they feel included and stay on your side. And that last box, bottom left, low power, low interest. You just need to monitor them. No heavy lifting required.
All right, so now you know who to talk to and how often. The next massive hurdle is just avoiding total confusion. We have got to get rid of that one phrase that kills projects. Wait, I thought you were doing that. It's time to make roles and responsibilities absolutely crystal clear.
And for that, we bring in the RACI matrix. Honestly, this thing is a total game changer. R stands for responsible. That's the person or people actually doing the hands-on work. C is for consulted. These are your experts, the folks you go to for input. I is for informed, the people you just need to keep up to date. But the most important letter here by far is A, for accountable. And here's the rule. For any given task, there can only be one person who is accountable. Just one. They own the final decision. If you get that single A right, you eliminate so much chaos.
See how this is all building? We've analyzed who's involved, we've defined what everyone's supposed to do, now it's time to pull it all together, to move from just thinking about it to actually doing it. It's time to build our engagement plan.
This plan is basically your roadmap for the entire project. It's where everything connects.
You start with your stakeholder analysis, you plug in your ROSI matrix to define all the roles, and then you get super specific. What are the key messages? What's the best way to communicate? Is it an email, a meeting, a demo? And how often are you going to do it? This is the document that makes sure nothing falls through the cracks.
Okay, but let's get real for a second. Even the world's most perfect plan is going to hit some turbulence. That's just reality. Stakeholder management is almost never a perfectly smooth ride. It's all about navigating that inevitable chaos that just happens whenever you're working with a group of people.
And let's be honest, I bet a lot of these challenges look painfully familiar, right? You're going to have people with conflicting priorities, key stakeholders who are just impossible to get time with. You'll deal with resistance to change and that constant, nagging threat of scope creep. The goal here isn't to get discouraged by this list. It's to realize that this is normal. These are the hurdles every single project faces.
And that brings us to what might be the single most important takeaway from all of this. Stakeholder engagement is not a one-and-done task. It's not a box you check at the beginning of a project and then forget about. It's a living, breathing process. It's about constant communication, and it's about being flexible enough to adapt your plan when the project or the people inevitably change.
So, I'm going to leave you with a direct question to think about. After everything we've just walked through, who is your single most important stakeholder right now on your most important project? And more importantly, what is the one thing they absolutely need to hear from you tomorrow to keep things moving forward?
Now, if you want to dive a lot deeper into these frameworks and a whole lot more, the source for today's explainer is the Essential Business Analyst, Mastering Business Analysis in the AI Age. We've dropped a link for you in the description.
And if you enjoyed this breakdown, it would be awesome if you hit that like button and subscribe for more.